everyone, and thank you and welcome to joining
Welcome,
us
welcome.
on the Elevated Life Podcast. I am Ashley.
And I'm Evette, and this is our first episode. Super
What?
excited to those who are listening today. What is the elevated life? Like, what would you say
Yes,
is kind of the purpose or vision that you
that's
have
a
for this
wonderful
podcast?
question. I mean, just hearing the elevated life, that just gets me excited because I just want to go to wherever that is. The
Right,
elevation beyond where I am right now, let's go there.
right. Get me there.
Yes. So conceptually, I would say the elevated life was birthed out of, I think, a mutual acknowledgement from the many conversations that we have had around goals that we have, aspirations, and also the attainment of those along the way, and just always striving to be the best version of yourself. I definitely think that along the way, we have gained so much knowledge, learned so much, as well as still have so much yet to experience that we're at the perfect crossroads and opportunity to share some of the things that we're doing that have elevated our life to the place that we are now. But then also opening the conversation to bring others along with us, that hopefully some of the things that we share will be helpful and insightful and inspiring for us all to continue to go toward the elevated life, because I don't ever want to like get there and stop. I'm like, this is continual for me. So
Yes,
that's
it
why I think that we came up with this idea and really are branding it aligned with the elevation that we're trying to continue to go for.
absolutely, like, it's a journey, and we're not suggesting that we have arrived in every way, right? There's a lot that we have accomplished and a lot of things that we have learned that we want to share, but we're also a sponge. Like, I love the fact that this is a conversation and dialogue, right? I also think too, which we didn't haven't talked much about, and we don't have to get into much detail on, is like part of this is acknowledging some of the struggle,
Oh
right? And
yes,
sharing
definitely.
that, yeah, like sharing that the ahas and learning sometimes is acknowledging where we are and being very transparent and vulnerable so people know that they're not alone in this
Exactly.
journey. So good
Exactly.
stuff. So as our
Yes.
first podcast,
Yes.
um, we are talking a little bit about self-care today. And
Yes.
so I just want to pick your brain around what are you doing today regarding self-care? Like what's your self-care things that you do?
Yes. So I am very passionate about self care. I really feel like it is something that is used often now. Like self care is kind of almost like a buzzword these days. Like, oh, I'm doing my self care Sundays, and all of that. But truly, like, what is self care and how do we define it? And really, how do we really achieve it? So, for me, I look at it in three different aspects, I would say. I look at it from a physical component, a mental component, and a spiritual component, at least for me personally. And with that, I would say what I'm doing now in those spaces, physically, I'm trying to, like, my goal is to work out 5 days a week. If I get three, that's still a good week. If I get one, it's still a good week. So,
Yeah.
giving myself the grace to really work on that goal, but at the same time, not be perfect. Spiritually, I would say I'm working on making sure that I'm leaving some space and some time in my day to have some meditation or have, some prayer time or some time with God. And sometimes even combining that with my physical self care. So if I'm going on a walk, I may listen to a sermon or an inspirational book, or just have some time in my thoughts with God and prayer time and things like that. So I'm taking care of my physical being, but also spiritually investing in
Yes.
myself as well. And then I would say from the mental space, I definitely am a believer in therapy and having that as a part of, your toolkit. of things that you do to take care of yourself. Some people, like therapy to be continual. Some people use it in seasons of their life. I'm more of a seasonal therapy person, but it's something that I always know is there and is an option for me to help me when things are going good and when things are challenging. So I think it's very important to also keep in mind that therapy is not just for when you sad or stressed out or got something you're trying to
Right.
figure out. Sometimes it's okay to just say, hey, things are going good and I want to make sure they keep going good and just
Yeah.
have some maintenance. So
Yeah.
those would, I would say, the three areas that I focus on and what I'm doing for now. What about you? What are you doing? And what do you define as self-care?
Oh man, I love those categories. I think it's such a good summary of like how we can sort of stay focused and have those areas of focus on self-care. Man, I'm doing a number of different things. I love your ambition around 5 days a week working out.
That's all it is ambition
Right.
because it ain't always happening.
Listen, if I can get 3 days in, I feel accomplished.
Exactly.
Um, but yeah, my physical self-care, like exercising, is has been really instrumental for me in helping to relieve stress and kind of have that me time in a way, that I didn't really acknowledge in the past was a need until I started getting into it more regularly. So that is definitely um one of those things that I would say I do. The other is prayer time as well. And so I'm continuing to get back into a better prayer routine. So there's been some opportunity for me to improve that. And I'm listening. I'm like, Lord, I hear you. I'm listening. And
Hmm.
so definitely doing more of that. Um, and then I love the focus on mental. And I think we miss that a lot of times. And sometimes that mental self-care, and I know this is a buzzword too, but it's about setting those boundaries, right? Like, what are the boundaries that I need to set to make sure that mentally I'm in a good place? And sometimes that means saying no to things. I'm practicing that. I'm getting better with that.
Hmm.
Sometimes I recognize that, like, my mental health starts to deteriorate when I haven't taken time to unplug from work, or when I just haven't had enough quiet time to myself. And so that's a big part of it for me too. Um, so yeah, I wanted, as we kind of dig into this, one other thing that we've talked about is sort of your environment. Like when we talk about mental health and the self-care, how does that kind of tie in, would you say, Ashley, with like your physical environment? What would you suggest there?
Well, I definitely think that, and no, not just this is not just a thought, this is a proven fact in my
Okay.
house that when my physical space is not aligned with the expectation that I have in my mind and how I like my physical space to be arranged, everything else is impacted by that. So if I'm behind on laundry or there's some dishes I need to take care of or whatever the case may be, that one little thing that you need to do that is just going to annoy you until you do it, it definitely puts me in a place of larger anxiety or stress or just like not in a good mood. I'm fussing at everybody. Why this in the floor? Why you ain't pick your shoes up? This and
Right.
that. So that
Yep.
definitely, my physical environment, like what I'm in, sends me definitely mentally to a different place. So I try to be on top of that and really, sometimes I will, just take a moment and stop doing other things that may still continue to be a priority, but like, okay, no.
Hmm.
If I don't, take care of these dishes right now and just get that out of the way, out of my mind, then I can go on and answer these emails. Or if I don't go ahead and at least start this load of laundry and then place a couple phone calls after that, I know I can go, into those conversations with a clearer mind. So it definitely is important for me to, recognize and really also have some action behind making sure that my physical space is aligned with, the clarity in my mind. To me, is a direct
Come
correlation.
on.
If I'm not
Yes.
organized and I'm not in order around me, you can pretty much believe that my thoughts are all over the place. I'm not, going about things strategically, and in the most productive manner.
Yeah, it's
Um,
hard to go about things systematically when
mhm,
the system around you is all messed
mhm,
up, and so it just
mhm.
jumbles your mind.
There have been some great points here, but going further into that, like, okay, we want to work out, we want to pray, we want to take
Hmm.
care of, our physical environment. How do you feel like or you're able to recognize when you're not doing enough self care? Like it's
Oh,
gone off the rails.
first of all, my temperament. Like, don't nobody
Mm-hmm.
want to be around me when I haven't been taking care of myself. I have an
Mm-hmm.
attitude.
Mm-hmm.
And I think too, like, that's part of it. And like you were saying, like, I start fussing, and I'm short with my family. I can be short with people I work with. Like, it shows up that way. The other thing is, I feel like I have scatterbrain, like here, there, and everywhere. When, just kind of back to the environment thing, when my environment, when I don't have the right amount of order, which to me, self order is a reflection of taking care of yourself. When you have some order in
Mm-hmm.
your life, it's a reflection of taking the time to make sure that order is there. When I don't have that, it can actually be somewhat depressing. Like, I feel like it drags my mood down too, because of the level of frustration and that feeling of overwhelm. So what about you? What
It
are some
gives me
signs?
anxiety,
Mm,
and that's something that I have to manage, because I am a recovering perfectionist, admittedly. That's
yeah,
something that I
me
have to
too.
continually work on. That no, the house not gonna be perfect every day. No, you're not gonna get your to-do list done every day. And even though you sent that email and you forgot the period, nobody died. It's all right.
Don't nobody
Okay?
care. Yeah,
Nobody died.
they
Nobody
didn't
cares.
notice, right?
Oh,
Because they worried about their own period.
they
But
worry about their own. Exactly. So, the more I freed myself of that perfectionism mentality, at the same time, that anxiety was able to translate into other things. So, as an adult, and especially given different working environments where I've noticed that it's been heightened or lessened based upon some of the challenges presented there, that is something that I have to consciously be aware of,
yeah,
and just remind myself, in prayer and in just taking deep breaths and taking the time to, like, okay, it's gonna be all right. And one of the things that someone said to me one time, that I was talking to them about, I'm worried about this, I got to do this, got to do that. They were like, "But let me ask you something. All these decisions that you're making are important, but did anybody die?"
right,
Nobody died.
right.
If you make a mistake on an email, if you don't do that load of laundry, and sometimes that's self care too. And yeah, that laundry may be looking at you, you may be worried about it, but if you are so physically tired and mentally drained that it's better for you to take a nap
Yeah,
and then deal with that laundry, or go for a
yeah,
walk and then deal with that laundry, absolutely do it. I have noticed and have continually tried to prioritize listening to my body, listening to
yes,
my mind, and not just being driven by what expectations are, whether they're my own expectations of myself or what other people expect of me, but really listening to my body and honoring who I am to the core. Like, if it ain't sitting right with me, I'm getting to the point now I just can't do it. If it ain't
yeah,
sitting right, like if I know I'm tired and you need me to do this or need me to do that, I'm sorry. I'm just gonna have to tell you I can't today.
right. That
How
that's
you
so
feel about what I said is up to you.
right. Because
So,
this is where I'm at.
exactly. And I encourage other
Hmm.
people to do the same thing. And if you have people around you that can't respect and honor you when you say to them, "I'm tired, I can't fulfill this for you right now," or "Give me another day, today is not the day," you gotta kind of have some conversation with some folks and be like, "Look, I love you,
Okay.
you love me. Let's let it show up like that."
Yeah.
So I
Let's
think that's
love in
important
action.
too. Exactly.
Yes.
So the boundaries, I think that was the point I was trying to bring back from earlier. The boundaries that you mentioned and having those be clear,
Hmm.
even defining those for yourself sometimes can be hard, but it's so important and a really big part of self care.
Yeah, I love that you said being in tune with yourself, because I really think that is really driver of self-care is you do
Yeah.
have to be self-aware to know
Oh,
when
yeah.
you need it, right?
Mhm.
We have limits as
Mhm.
women, as mothers, as wives, as professionals, as fill in the blank, whatever it is. There's only so much that we can do in a given time. And we have to recognize when our body is tired and when those limits have when we're faced with those limits. I know that that was a personal journey that I went on. And I think this is, as we kind of wrap up here, just want to talk a little bit about how part of self care also involves asking for help or finding
Oh my
resources to
goodness.
help you manage it all. And
Oh
so
my
I know a
goodness.
big part of my personal self care, which was a big
Mhm.
impact to my mental health,
Mhm.
was having someone come at
Mhm.
least once a month and help a
Mhm.
sister out and clean this house.
Absolutely.
Yesterday,
Amen.
the
For the
cleaners
folks in the
came
back.
yesterday. Yes, come on,
Yes.
somebody. The cleaners came yesterday, and my whole temperament was
Yeah.
different. Like,
Absolutely.
it's such a weight lifted off my shoulders. It does not
Mhm.
mean that I don't clean my house or we don't
Absolutely.
but there's a certain amount of maintaining the home that I cannot
Absolutely.
do anymore because of those limitations
Mhm.
that I need help. And so having
Absolutely.
those resources available has been really phenomenal for me. So what are some things, does that
Absolutely.
resonate with you, or how
Oh,
does that
for
resonate with you?
sure. I mean, I remember us having many conversations about this because, especially, when you first get married, you're starting off and you have, oh, you are the keeper of the home, and you're just gonna just try to do it all. You're gonna work 50 hours a week or 60, however many you work. You're gonna work all them. You're gonna try to keep the house clean. You're gonna cook, dinner every day. And
Right.
listen, I'm doing the best I can up in here. Okay. I'm
Right.
doing the best
Yeah.
I can. So it definitely is a game changer realizing that if you have resources to enable yourself to be successful, why are you not taking advantage of that? And it's
Right.
really not taking advantage of it, but that's why you work, to provide for yourself and for your family.
Right. Yeah.
And really I try to look at it as a part of a bigger system, because
Mhm.
if you're helping me with some things I need around the house, I'm helping you grow your business. I'm helping you
Right.
take care of your children and your family and some of the needs that you may have financially. People have businesses in place for a reason. And usually, if you're working for yourself, you chose to do that business because you love cleaning, you love doing landscaping, you love washing
Right.
cars, whatever
Right.
the case may be. So let me help you be happy. Let me help you with that. And
Let's
in
help each
turn,
other out. Yeah.
exactly. And in turn, I'm being made happy by the things that you offer as a part of your business. So it's a complete game changer for me. I mean, even like looking at the yard, Justin loves doing the yard, took a great sense of pride in the yard. In the summertime, just about every time we ride up in the drive, he's like, yeah, look at my grass. He's really like proud of the yard.
Yeah.
And it got to a point that he just did not have the time. He had the desire, had the heart, had the physical ability, but his travel schedule, work schedule, other business pursuits, community efforts, and things that he was involved in just did not give him the capacity that he had 4 hours to spend in an afternoon to mow the grass, edge it up, blow it, do the weeds. I mean, all the things
All
that
the
get it
things.
to the place that you like it to be. So, I talked with him about it for a while because I saw the struggle. I would see him
Yeah.
work all week long. Dude run around with us behind the kids all weekend long. Come Sunday and it's time to cut that grass, and then don't have a week when it's been raining. And it
And
can't
then
wait till the day you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna cut it Sunday, and it didn't rain till Thursday and Friday. That grass like, hey,
right, we here.
we here. You can cut us or not, but we here. And you don't want to go through the whole weekend with your grass long, and
Right.
you don't have time.
Right.
And I said, babe,
Especially if
stop
it matters
torturing.
to you.
Exactly. Stop torturing yourself with things that don't have to be an issue.
That's
So
right.
one of the things that I
Yeah.
have a friend that always says, a lot of your problems or things you define as problems or challenges, if money can fix it, let it do it. If you can pay somebody to help you out with a problem,
Right.
sometimes it's worth being able to eliminate and alleviate that, so that that's not a stress for you.
Yeah, I love that. And so people are on in different places when it comes to this thing called self-care.
Mm-hmm.
And And I would even say, like, some of the examples that we gave around resources to help take the load off. Everybody's life is different. And that may not work for some people. It might work for others. There might be folks
Absolutely.
that are on the fence and hear this and realize, yeah, I need to go ahead and take that step. And then
Yeah.
there might be others where they have have to look into other options for themselves,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
So, how do we encourage people to
Mhm.
keep that level of accountability, whatever that self care,
Mhm.
whatever those items are, whatever it looks like
Yeah.
for the individual? What's some recommendations? Like, what are some things that you do to check in with yourself to make sure you're taking care of yourself?
Mhm. Well, one thing I do is try to have some accountability, at least with one other person, whether it's a girlfriend, whether it's Justin, whoever it is, I try to have some accountability around, this is what I'm doing in this time period to take care of myself. So I put it on my calendar, like as an appointment, like
Hmm.
going to the
Right.
gym at this time. Or I'm going to get a massage at this time, or I'm going for a walk at this time. And even if it's, part of your self care and taking care of your physical environment, sometimes I have to schedule time to like take on house projects.
Mm.
So if there's a closet I know I want to deal with, I put that on my calendar, on my to do list, like this Saturday morning before we go out and do the game, this, the that, I'm going to deal with this closet.
Right.
It's one project. I'm not trying to do the whole house. I'm not trying to just, turn the whole thing over. I've picked one project and I've dissected it and said, I'm going to deal with this. I'm going to feel good when it's done. And then we'll go on to the next project. So that's the other thing about it. You can't always have financial resources that can help you solve your problems, but you got to think about different ways that you can help yourself be
Yes.
successful if you don't have the capacity to do that. And I know how to do that too. So it's not just about having financial resources to take care of your problems, but it's also about thinking about things a different way. So another thing that I'll do is if I know that I need to do something, but I also want to have some self care in that time space as well, I will like play a show on Netflix on my phone and go for a walk. Or if I know I need to wash dishes or I need to clean the stove, I'll, put, a show on TV and have that playing while I'm doing something that I may not want to, necessarily do at the time. So, you can do things concurrently that can
Yeah.
help you kind of get through it and make you feel like it's not so much of a dreaded task. And you feel like, okay, I got through another episode of Love is Blind, but I also got the stove clean at the same time. So,
Right.
and then it
Right.
also defines the time period because you say, I'm going to do this during this time. When that show is over, that movie, that episode, whatever, when it's over, that your time is done to focus on that activity as well.
I love that because then you're like, okay, this I've done the same thing. Like, I know I have
Yep,
an hour or 90
exactly.
minutes or whatever it is to take care of XYZ.
Yep,
um whether it's taking care of the closet
yep,
or taking care of another to do, cleaning out the, working on organizing the garage or whatever
yep,
that thing might be. I have some to do items right now, um that don't take a lot of time, but there's just so much going on that it's hard to find the
exactly.
time. So I'm going to use that for some of those, because what happens is that it clutters my mind. Like, the
Oh,
list
yes.
is in my head, and so then that becomes a challenge when you're talking about that, mental health and self-care,
Yep,
when you're managing so many things in your mind at the same time. So that's
absolutely.
great. I love the accountability partner. So I think that's a good, um, call to action for
Hmm.
listeners. Check out, connect with someone that's going to tell you you have lipstick on your teeth, that's going to tell you your slip is
If they
showing.
don't tell you, they not your friend,
They
child. I'm
your
here to
friend,
tell you,
right?
they not
So
your
that
friend.
person that's going to keep it real with you and be like, you raggedy. Like,
Hmm.
you off. Like, when's the last time you took some time for yourself?
Exactly.
And
What do you
so,
do, when you need to check in with yourself to
oh
see
man, I think
where your
some
self
of the
care
same
is?
things. I do block time on my calendar from time to time. But some of the same thing. One thing I do that I find has been really helpful is about every 6 weeks, I take a day off from work. Like, I just need to take time off, like,
Hmm.
unplug. Um, Sometimes I sleep in, sometimes I don't. It just depends on what my body's doing, but I have no agenda for that day. And I just say, hey, I'm unplugging from this, work and other stuff. I try to make sure that day is relatively light. There might be kid things that I have to do, like stuff with my kids, our family stuff, but I have no real commitments to that day. And so I find that doing that every 6 weeks or so, every 6 to 8 weeks, is really,
That's
really helpful.
awesome. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, it's really
I love
helpful.
that.
And then sometimes I just like, okay, it's when I know I haven't done that, and maybe there's some challenges in finding that time, I do other things. And maybe just, take a longer lunch or take
Exactly.
afternoon off. Go to
That
the nail
I
salon.
love that. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
the thing. Like even though we're offering suggestions and things that have been helpful for us, you got to get creative. Like
Yes.
you have to fight sometimes. Like for that time for yourself, for that space for yourself. So
Yeah. Yeah.
listen, I'm gonna think about that thing till I figure it out. And I'm gonna find me 30 minutes somewhere.
Yes.
I don't
Yeah.
care if I gotta get up before everybody else, go to bed after everybody else,
Exactly.
something. I have
Exactly.
to find some time where I'm not worried about nobody but me.
I know that's right. The lady's name escapes me right now, but one of the things that she says is to mother yourself, right? Like
Oh yes.
treat yourself like a good mother would treat their kids.
That's self-care
That's
all in
how
itself. Like
that
if
is boom.
imagine if you
Yeah.
mothered yourself, if you took care of yourself, like you take care of your children, your
Right.
pets, your spouse, your significant other, whoever it is that everybody's taking care of somebody, you
Right.
know, imagine you would go to
Mhm.
bed on time.
Mhm.
You would eat right. You wouldn't eat too many sweets. You wouldn't eat too much candy. You would have
Right.
healthy things.
Be
You wouldn't watch too
active.
much TV. Right.
Yep. And even like when our kids were, especially when my kids were younger, I knew when they needed a nap or
Yeah.
rest. Like you
Exactly.
worn out. You need to take some time. And even now I'll be like, you know what? You need to sleep in.
Yeah.
This
Have some
particular
rest.
Saturday, you don't have to
Yeah.
be anywhere bright and early this Saturday, which is rare. So you need to sleep in or whatever, just to give them time to, when's the last time you had something to eat? You're
Exactly.
running on empty. The same thing. Mother yourself the way that
Oh, that's
good
good.
mom would mother their kids.
That's
And that
good.
was like eye-opening for
Yes.
me. I'm like, I'm raggedy when I go to
Absolutely.
bed. I don't have a good bedtime routine. So I started making some little
Mm-hmm.
incremental changes, and it's still a work in progress, but I have that
Mm-hmm.
conviction of like I'm not
Yes.
loving myself the way that I should because I'm not taking care of myself.
Yep.
So well, this
Absolutely.
was so good, Ashley.
Yes.
This is a good episode 1.
I think
And
so. We'll be doing this, periodically. Our goal is at least twice a month to have a frequency, but we may increase it, or there may be some topics that come up that we want to bring up before then. But we definitely will keep the conversation going and welcome more topics as we continue to dive in.
absolutely, the elevated life. We're here to help you explore and elevate your life. And we're very excited to be on this journey. Thanks,
Yes.
everybody.
Thanks. See you next time.